Wonder Woman 1984 finally came out in theaters and on HBO Max on Christmas Day, and I finally had the chance to check it out. Gal Gadot returns as Diana, Chris Pine is back, kind of. Kristen Wiig steps out of her comfort zone here to play Barbara Minerva, and Pedro Pascal is here as Maxwell Lord. Decades after the First World War, we see Wonder Woman attempt to take on Maxwell Lord and the Cheetah. Kind of? Alright, here we go. I'm a massive fan of the first Wonder Woman movie. I think it is one of, if not the best movie from the DCEU. I need to rewatch some of them. It's either this or Shazam, although I haven't seen Man of Steel in years, and I haven't seen the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs Superman, so I can't fully say, but this is definitely up there as one of the best. And I was really excited for this movie. You know, it's been delayed forever and ever, and they finally dropped it. I finally watched it. And I don't think this movie is absolutely horrible. I know a lot of people are saying it's terrible, and it has a lower rating than both Suicide Squad and Justice League on IMDb, which I think is bizarre. This movie is definitely better than those two, I think. I just don't think the movie is that good, though. I sadly side more with the negatives, although I am very mixed on it. I feel disappointed, and if you are a fan of this movie, this review is not trying to tell you that you're wrong. Honestly, I'm jealous of you if you liked it, because I really wanted to. I'll start off positively though. I think all the actors were pretty great here. Wonder Woman is probably my favorite female superhero, one of my favorite superheroes ever. And again, I love that first one, and Gal Gadot is fantastic as this character. I'll refer to her as both Wonder Woman and Diana here, just if you're confused. Chris Pine has great chemistry with her too, and he gave me some good laughs through the whole thing, and despite what I think of his character, which I'll discuss later, I think he was very solid here. As I said, Kristen Wiig stepped out of her comfort zone, and I think she is hilarious. Hilarious person. I love seeing her, you know, on SNL and stuff, and I'm really happy she did, because I think that her performance is actually really good in this movie. I'm glad you did. If you will not see this, but just good job. But Pedro Pascal stole every single scene he was in, basically. I love him in Game of Thrones, I love him in The Mandalorian, but here, he looks like he's just having the time of his life. Hans Zimmer's score is also beautiful. The first one's score is one of my favorite scores, especially for superhero films, of all time. And I'll admit, this score did elevate some of the mass scenes, but it also added to a bunch of the great action sequences. Most of the action sequences are really, really good here. They're really entertaining, also because this movie takes place in the 80s. It's really colorful, and I liked basically all of them. So I love the performances, the score, most of the action sequences, and the chemistry between a few of the characters. But my god, is there a lot of problems here. After my grade, I am going to go into spoilers, so I'll give you about 10 seconds after that, but no spoilers up until my grade, which will come in a few minutes. That's just a warning for you. If you haven't seen the film after my grade, just leave the video. I like the performances, but as for the actual characters and how they're written, I have no problems with Diana, but Steve is back. That's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. It's not hidden from anything. I'm not spoiling anything, don't worry. But the way he is back is really, really stupid, and what they do with his character, I feel bad for Chris Pine. I'll talk about that more later, but I had a big problem with that. Kristen Wiig, again, really good here, and I liked seeing her in this movie. I'm glad she was a part of it, but she falls into that whole nerdy, stereotypical glasses-wearing villain that they've done in a ton of comic book movies. I saw a post about it on Twitter, but I mean, I just don't like that. And they did a lot later on with her character and with the villain of the Cheetah that was so dumb. And Pedro Pascal was having a lot of fun, and he was really entertaining here. But what they did with his character, I out loud said, why? The movie also drags on a lot. It is 2.5 hours long, and listen, this one right here is about 10 minutes shorter, and it feels almost an hour shorter. That says a lot about the pacing. The first one had a bunch of action sequences, but it also had a bunch of scenes where we had smaller character moments and they mattered. They added to an emotional impact, whereas this one lacked that. One of the biggest issues I have with the movie is that I felt no connection. I felt more emotion and connection to the movie in the 5 seconds Diana yelled no in the first one than I did throughout the entire movie. They try in some scenes and it doesn't work, in others they just totally forget about it. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't always love hating on a movie that a lot of people like, and I know there was a ton of effort. Patty Jenkins did a great job with the first one, and there are a lot of things that she did really well here, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to do in the future. I think she is very talented, but there's just that part of me that says, I can't tell you that I don't like a movie without explaining why. When someone says, I don't like this, but they can't back up why they don't like this certain thing, it annoys me. And for an example of that, I've had people tell me they don't like the band Nirvana. Now, Nirvana is one of my favorite bands. It's a very popular band, obviously. But whenever I say, oh, why don't you like Nirvana? They never tell me why. They just say, oh, I don't like their music. Why don't you like it? They don't talk about the sound. They don't talk about how it's made, like anything like that. So when I'm talking about a movie that I didn't exactly like, I feel like I have to do that though. And it's different if I'm hating on a movie like Hubie Halloween, which everyone can agree sucked. And you know, that's a very different story. The movie is much worse. I just feel like I have to really explain why, you know? So I hope I don't offend anyone or piss anyone off too much. There were a lot of stupid decisions here, and if you have a movie that makes me say out loud, why, or oh my god, a bunch of times, you might want to think about going back and rereading the film, because this film is 2.5 hours long, and yet it still feels rushed and dragged out and just straight up boring in some parts. Wonder Woman 1984 had potential, but in the end, I feel disappointed. Although it features solid performances, a great score, and some exciting action sequences, the rushed and at times cringy script really brought this one down for me, and it was surprisingly boring for almost an hour. As a major fan of the first one, I hate to say that I didn't like this one. I'm gonna give Wonder Woman 1984 a C+. Now that isn't a super terrible grade, of course. That is my highest negative grade. I didn't like it, but there were things that I really liked about it, so I kind of have to even that out. As I said, I am mixed on it. When this film first came out, there were a ton of people that loved it. It was getting great reviews, but then when it released on HBO Max and in theaters, you know, on Christmas Day, then it kind of just dropped, and people are very mixed on it. People love it, people hate it, people like me are very in the middle about it. But now I'm going to go into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film, I suggest clicking off the video because I don't want to spoil stuff for you. If you are a fan of the first one, I recommend checking it out because there were a bunch of people who like it. Just don't pay $30 for it. Okay, so the opening 2 action sequences were really cool. The first one, the Olympic one, was interesting, and then the mall scene was also really cool. The problem I had with the opening scene though is that it felt like it served almost no purpose in the story. I could, you know, let's say it's 20 minutes long. I don't know how long, 15 minutes I'll say. If I went 15 minutes into this movie and I started right at the mall sequence, I would have missed almost nothing. And you know, when you have an opening action sequence, which is cool, it looks cool, it sounds cool, the score was great, and it was really well shot. I enjoyed watching it, but overall, it didn't really serve a purpose. But here's the thing, there were a lot of scenes here which I actually cringed, and I was like, this is so stupid. And I won't talk about them all here because this video, I don't want it to be so insanely long. It's going to be longer definitely than most of my reviews, but it has a normal review and a spoiler talk inside of it, so you know, it cancels out another video because there was really no point in making 2. But if you want to talk more in depth about some of these things, feel free to DM me on Instagram or Twitter. Probably Instagram is better, just if you have it. My name is UN Reviews on there, and we can fully talk about it. As much as I enjoyed Chris Pine here, when he came back and the way they did that, it made me roll my eyes. I thought he was charming and funny and really entertaining to watch. He had great chemistry here. But having him come back and to everyone else, he looks like this random dude that you'd see in a shitty romance movie. He looks like that to everyone else, but for us, for the sake of the audience, it's Chris Pine. And when they first see each other, it's at the party and the camera spins around them a lot and then it looks like him and that's him, but when he looks in the mirror, it's stupid. It's really stupid. And I mean, I like Chris Pine a lot and I loved him in the first movie, but I feel like his sacrifice at the end was quite important. And I'm not saying I had a big problem with him being back. It's just the way he was brought back and what they did with his character. I felt bad for him as an actor. And another thing is that Pedro Pascal's, you know, power-hungry character here did some crazy stuff. Like, he was building sand walls out of nowhere, and some, like, nukes were launched everywhere, stuff like that. So why can they build sand walls out of everywhere, but Chris Pine can't look like Chris Pine? I know I'm thinking way too much about it, and I'm sorry if I sound stupid. I know I'm a nerd, okay? I get told it all the time. I know. You don't have to tell me that. It's just stuff like that where I'm like, but there's this, so why can't we have this? I mentioned the whole nerdy villain thing, you know, Kristen Wiig, the glasses, all that clumsy, all that, and it's fine seeing her there, But the problem I had, which made me actually laugh out loud, is the first time we saw the cheetah in full costume. Oh my god. First of all, the cheetah character comes in an hour and 49 minutes into the movie. What? But then when we finally see her, I laughed so hard, and that whole action sequence, it's dull and in the dark, and just, I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it. I like seeing Wonder Woman wearing all the gold, but visually, ugh. Maxwell Lord should also be a really interesting character, and as I said, I've said it a bunch, I really enjoyed Pedro Pascal here, but the whole melodramatic subplot with his son was so forced. You realize when you watch like 5 to sometimes 7, 8 movies a week that you really need an emotional connection to really be a big fan of a movie. If I'm watching a movie that is visually well made, technically brilliant, but I feel zero connection between it, then I probably in the end won't love it. And Wonder Woman 1984 had a lot of good things about it, but I felt no connection, you know, when he's crying and hugging his son that came out of nowhere. And finally, this movie is way too long. It's 2.5 hours and paced really badly. I thought this one that was 2 hours and 21 minutes, it ended at like 2 hours and 12 minutes or whatever, was paced brilliantly. We had these great action sequences and we had these smaller character moments, but here we have just people talking, no action, but I felt bored while watching it sometimes, and I was like, oh my god, there's still 45 minutes left. There should be 10 minutes left. If you want to talk more in depth about these scenes, feel free to DM me, as long as you're being respectful, because I'm gonna say it again, I don't mean to offend anyone here. If you made this movie, you're someone who, you know, took part of the production. I don't mean to offend you, and if you love this movie, I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong, okay? I'm really glad you liked the movie, but if you want to talk about it, DM me, and if you've seen Wonder Woman 1984, please tell me what you think of it in the comments down below. What is your favorite DCEU movie? Mine could be Wonder Woman, could be Shazam. I need to rewatch Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman the Ultimate Edition, and I still haven't seen Aquaman, and then I'll rank the DCEU movies when the Snyder Cut comes out. Tomorrow I'll have my best of the year list, and then New Year's Eve I'll have a different video than normal. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.